Hey guys, BigGunner81 here. Welcome to my video here, my channel. Uh, so today, hey, I was out actually at the range getting some practice in for an upcoming practical rifle event we have coming up in a week from now with a buddy of mine. And just want to kind of share a little bit of experience I had. First off, though, I want to tell you that this firearm has been safety checked. There are no cartridges in the chamber, no magazine in the mag well. So anyhow, we're out practicing and running through some drills. Drills were coming up and doing some timing and stuff, just kind of getting some practice in with the AR15s. So first off, this particular rifle here is um, basically a custom build that I put together. It's kind of a budget first build project that I had done. Not the first AR I've owned, but the first one I've actually assembled myself. And overall, it's been a great rifle. I haven't done a lot of shooting with it, being that it wasn't my primary rifle. Probably 500 rounds or something like that through it, maybe at most, maybe a couple hundred rounds. Don't really remember, didn't really keep count. But today was the first time I actually had a problem with it since assembling it. When I assembled it, I had a couple of hiccups to work out, but that just is typical of any firearm you pretty much put together. It seems you got to work out little tiny things and details, but after that, I put at least several hundreds of rounds through it and everything without an issue. So today I'm practicing doing some double taps. And the first time I go to attempt to do a double tap, I cycle the charging handle and load up a round, flick the safety off, go to fire, fire's fine. Go to fire the second round, and it feels like as if the bolt hadn't even cycled back. Well, the first thing I did was I waited a couple seconds and I dropped the magazine, pulled the charging handle back, ejected the round that was in the chamber. So it proved to me then it was loading a new round in the chamber. So it wasn't the bolt cycling issue, apparently. At first I thought maybe I have a bad ammo. I was shooting my own homemade reloads, and I have not had any issues with any of the reloads I fired. But I figured it's always the first time for everything, so I looked at it and I noticed there's a little tiny dimple on the primer head. I'm like, well, maybe it's a light light primer strike. Maybe the firing pin isn't hitting it hard enough. Then, that's strange. So my friend took one of my rounds and loaded up in his rifle to see, and we checked, and it had the same identical little tiny mark, which apparently is just typical when you load a round into the chamber. For the first time, that firing pin will kind of tap on the cup of the primer. So the little dimple I was seeing appeared to be the same identical dimple that we were getting out of chambering a fresh round into his rifle. So I compared that. So I said, okay, well, evidently it's not the light primer strike isn't the problem, because all the rounds, even the rounds that didn't fire, we chambered them in another rifle, his or mine, wherever, they all fired just fine. So it wasn't the ammo, ruled that out right away. So my next diagnostic step here was, trying to figure out what was happening, was to pull the pins apart on the rifle and at this point inside. I've got a loaded magazine in it, right? Just picture this, imagine. Loaded magazine, the upper assembly's on it. I go to pull the charging handle back, pull the bolt back, like so, okay? Hammer's cocked back, the trigger is ready to be pulled, rounds in the chamber. I'm going to set my finger here to dampen this hammer from dropping. So I pull the trigger, boom, round goes off. The bolt's going to cycle faster than I can take my finger off that trigger. So we're going to cycle the bolt comes back, pushes the hammer down, like so. Alright, I'm ready to fire the next round, or so I think. I let off the trigger, go to pull it, nothing. The hammer does not release. Well, what the heck? Why is that happening? That should not be that way. Well, inside here there's a disconnector, and it's really hard to see down inside there, but I'll kind of bring it a little closer. Right now the disconnector is engaged. It should not be, okay? And let me back this up again. So this is where we got the second round loaded and it's not firing, pulling the trigger. If you watch, I'll push the trigger forward. You see this, the hammer pops up. Well, now it'll fire. What's happening is, maybe you can see a little bit better. Down here, this is the disconnector. It has a hook on it. It grabs this little point on the hammer. The whole idea behind the disconnector is that you want this hammer to be held when you're holding the trigger down. You don't want this hammer to be popping back and forth on its own. That's going to cause an out of battery, possibly an out of battery ignition, where you're gonna cause that round to fire out of battery, which means that the bolt is not fully seated into the chamber, which can ultimately lead to destruction of your rifle and possibly personal injury. Not fun. So don't think you can take this disconnector out and make it a full auto or something like that, because you're not going to do that. You're going to screw up your rifle, possibly hurt yourself, and also be doing something that is highly illegal, and if caught, you're going to go to federal prison. So don't do that. My thought here is, to what's happening, again, you can see it should be firing right now. It's on fire. Problem is the hammer is not totally going back. Maybe the hammer spring is a little weak. Again, this is a fairly new rifle. I haven't fired it a whole lot, probably a few hundred rounds through it at most. I can't really remember. I didn't keep a round count on it. But I haven't used this particular rifle as much as I've used my other rifles. And so I have to think that the hammer spring, the trigger spring is probably okay, but we're having this issue with it. So that's one possible idea. Second idea is the mating surfaces between this hammer, right down here, this little point, the back side of it, and the hook on here are either the tolerances are a little bit too tight somehow, which is not really adjustable, or the finish is just not smooth enough there, the surface between the two. Now this is a nickel boron coated, trigger assembly, semi-auto trigger assembly, but it could still be that the surface below that coating might be rough or something. And again, I haven't really had this problem. I haven't had this problem at all until this visit to the range now. And again, the rifle's been sitting, for a while. I cleaned it before I put it away, but right now it's not clean, obviously, because I had it at the range. So I don't think it's necessarily the being lubricated or the cleanliness of it that's causing this problem, but you never know. Maybe there's some weird piece of grit or something that's helping to hook it up. But possibly I might have to clean up that surface a little bit. But you don't want to go in there and remove a lot of material or some material from it, because you don't want that disconnector to not be able to engage and hold this hammer back when you're holding the trigger down, because you don't want this thing, again, firing out of battery or causing a simulated full auto style firing, and that either of those two things are just very, very bad. One's dangerous and one's illegal. This kind of goes hand in hand, I suppose. But anyhow, once I get it taken apart and kind of clean it up and take a look and see, and possibly change out that spring, I'll update you guys in our video. But I just want to show you my experience now while it's all fresh in my mind and all that good stuff. So anyhow, till next time, guys, thanks for watching again, and till next time, have fun shooting.